Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Dawson. Welcome to Leader Talk. This show is proudly brought to you by Brainiact. Each week we are meeting with incredible leaders from across Australia and around the world to discuss all things leadership and business insights. Each person coming on this show has given up their valuable time for one very clear purpose: to give back to small and medium business owners. In this episode, my co-host, CEO of Pierlite, Gus Arianto, and I are excited to chat to Justin Burgess, Executive General Manager at Laminex Australia. Justin has extensive experience running full profit and loss within the Australian and New Zealand building products segment. Justin's specialties are leading sales and profit turnarounds, building and developing successful teams, as well as identifying and growing new market segments. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thanks, Natalie. Good to be here.
Hello, Justin. Hello, mate. We've been waiting for this time. I'm so excited for this talk show. Thank you for your time.
Now, Justin, we begin each episode with two fun questions that we ask our guests. So we'd like to ask you your first two.
Sure.
When you're not at work, where will we find you?
Well, work and home have kind of blended at the moment. So I think, and my shout out to everyone in lockdowns at the moment. Just first off, I think it's exceptionally hard, and for those in New South Wales in particular, just want to say, I'm originally from Sydney, so I really and in Victoria for the last 6 months in lockdown. So I really value what you're going through, and our thoughts are with you. So yeah, to answer your question, I think it's blended. It's really, I think the world's kind of flipped on its head, so to speak, at the moment. But my office and my home are one of the same at the moment, and have been for a considerable time. So, look, I think when I'm not at work, I love to walk. I love to walk every day. I think that's been a real upside for me in lockdown in particular. The ability to get out. Either listen to a music podcast. I talk a lot while I walk as well with my team, and often we do walking meetings. So I think we've had a really good, focus on that. But and then look, again, we're not in lockdown. My son, I've got a young son and two older kids as well. But soccer and the weekends are pretty jam packed with soccer both Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, fantastic! What about you, Gus?
Well, I love cooking noodles. So when I'm not work, I tend to cook noodles for everyone. And the problem with the lockdown, the kids can only eat so much noodles. And so, so that's a bit depressing for me. So normally, if we're not in lockdown, I will have a lot of friends and a lot of social meetings where I like to cook. So that's where you find me, in the kitchen.
Oh, fantastic. And one country that you're fascinated by?
Oh, great question. I love travel, by the way. So this is a hard one. I love Europe. I think I think, and that's a complexity of countries, obviously. But I think for that exact reason, that just being able to go from border to border and have a completely different experience, one from the other, and I think that's unique. In terms of travel. So if I had to pick one within Europe, I'd say Italy. I love it. I think it's a fantastic part of the world.
Fantastic. And Gus?
If I have to pick one country, I pick Japan. And the city in Japan, I prefer Osaka than Tokyo. And the reason being is, the history of Japan, they don't have a lot of things. The country comes with a lot of earthquakes. The country comes with a lot of challenges, but they have the ability to reorganize very quickly. And when I'm there, it just felt like everything organized. They don't tend to focus on the challenges. They quickly reorganize. I just love them, and they do the best noodles.
Yeah. as well as a lot of other things. But I was there a couple of years ago, Gus, and I absolutely, the organization of that many people, I traveled through their subway at one point, and it was it was quiet. Everyone was on the left-hand side of, walking upstairs. It was so coordinated for that many people moving in and out daily.
Yes.
I was just amazed.
Yes, it's unbelievable. So that's the place.
Fantastic. Thank you. Going straight into leadership, Justin, you're a leader of a large and leading organization. How would you describe your leadership style?
That's a good question. It's probably easy for other people to answer about me rather than me. But the way I would explain myself and how I kind of articulate it to my team is I'm probably the furthest thing away from a micromanager you could imagine. I really do love the strategic element of business. I love, immersing myself in those challenges. I spend a lot of time, trying to understand what we're facing, not only just locally, but globally. So, I read, I kind of get across a number of kind of sources there. But yeah, I love team. I love finding talent, and I love, really immersing that talent in the business, and getting them to take ownership. We kind of talk about a founder's mentality in our business, and a very entrepreneurial spirit. So that's what I love, and I think that's we're going to drive into a bit of this today. But I love finding those people that are genuinely passionate about kind of growing, being really competitive. I've got a strong competitive edge, and I love kind of pushing business forward. But I love doing it as a function of a team. And having team connected would be a really big part from my leadership style.
Justin, can I you and I, we in the past, we came from the same organization. So I can second what Justin said about his leadership style. Your team back then, and some of them with you now will see you as someone that don't micromanage them. Now, I'm a noodle shop. I'm the owner of a noodle shop. Just because last week I'm a kebab shop. Maybe
shop,
this week I'm changing. I'm changing to a noodle shop this week.
Always about food, right?
Yeah, it has to. Let's pick the word that is very important. And a lot of people talk about it. Executions is not easy. Micromanage from leadership point of view. I'm a small business, and I have 3 staff. I'm the chef, and I'm also the one who cleaned the kitchen. And I have 3 staff with me, and they're all young people, graduates. Some of them, 2 of them is not actually graduate yet. How do I implement, how do I bring myself to be applying the leadership style where we can bring, empowerment to a small business, where the reality of running a small business is actually difficult not to do that, because I got students that don't even clean the plate correctly right now.
Yeah.
So I wanna make them clean it even cleaner. What's your view on that?
Yeah, it's a good question, and look, I've got to be honest with you. Whether you got 3 people, 300, or 3,000, I think the old adage this one truly plays out for me. And culture eats strategy every day of the week. And so I think whether you're 3 or 3,000, you've got to really concentrate on what is your culture, what is it you want people to buy into, and that's as applicable whether I'm the front counter or I'm making the noodles. What's my culture? How do I kind of quickly update for people, particularly when I'm recruiting? Because I think ultimately that's what you want. You want passion, right? And I choose passion over anything every day of the week on recruitment. I think the technicalities of roles, and there are some nuances here, right? I mean, if you want an engineer, you've got to get an engineer. And so there are some nuances here, but regardless, they're coming in and they're buying into a culture, in my opinion. And you and I have spoken about this quite a bit. I mean, culture for me is the quickest thing to exit people if you don't get it right.
Yeah.
And yet it's the hardest thing to recruit for. So because typically we see CVs, we go down and we tick boxes, but where in there do we decipher the element of culture? So for me, I think it's time taken there. It's time to be really clear about both the good and bad elements of your culture, so that people come in, with eyes wide open, but find that passion, as much as you can, all day, every day, if you're recruiting people and you're trying to build a business, because it's what gets you through the hard times. That passion, that endurance is going to last.
And I think for us, I am as the noodle shop owner right now. I think the key points that I take from you, and I want to come back to Natalie, because my youngest son is only year 9 right now, working in the background for Natalie, and I want to share something about what you two doing. You two actually do well. My son Ryland. Whether we're running a 3 people business as a noodle shop, a small or company like your size, 10,000 people, the ability to focus on empowerment, the ability to focus on people's strength, it actually will make your business, our business, strive further. So that's what you said. And then you also say that selecting passion, of course, we don't select just passionate people if we're looking for engineers or a chef.
Sure.
But passion have to be there, and passion, what I said to my organization right now. So I'm jumping from a noodle shop to my passion, not necessarily someone look like us, Justin. I mean, we are very out there. We like to talk. Passion could be as quiet as Natalie and Nat. When Ryland, my son, started working with you in the background, and you just make him feel like he's the most important person in the crew of 10 people that work for you. I mean, and that's amazing to see a 15 years old can finish work and say, I just love this. And I asked you, right? I said to you, what do you do? And you said, well, I empower him. I ask him to search. And I think that's the key things that Justin tried to talk about here.
Yeah, and I think I've heard that before, passion, as long as I've got that passion, skills can be taught. So, that's where it's really important, rather than just going on by skill set. And I think that's what is exactly what's being said here. So just go for that passion, the values, and then teach the skills.
Yeah. And Natalie, I mean, here's another perspective on that, right? And it doesn't matter where you look in Australia at the moment. The fight for labour is going to be tough, right? We have no immigration. We're effectively landlocked in some of our states. And so finding that, that passion gives the opportunity to go look for other people as well, beyond what you would normally think are right for your business. Does a salesperson have to come from building products? Can they come out of a restaurant where, they've been put out of work, but they're still so passionate that, that those other skills are learned very quickly because they're into your business, they're into your culture. So I think for small businesses as well, this fight for talent is real, and getting out of the comfort zone of who you think is right for your business is a real opportunity at the moment. I think to think real laterally around where you're going to go find and recruit and bring talent into your business. It's going to be a real hot topic for a while in this country.
Yeah, definitely agree there. Still staying on the topic, what do you think then are the most important qualities then for successful leaders?
Look, for me, I think if you're going to lead a business, I'm a really simple guy, and I tend to think about business as not being overly complicated. I mean, we make things, we sell things, and I don't think it needs to be more overly complex than that.
Can I just stop you there, Justin? I just want to. This is so important. What Justin said. Justin think about business every single day. Yet Justin just said, for me, business shouldn't be a complex thing. And I can not say this because coming in our future, talking about exactly that in more in-depth. And yet, we have two leaders here, Justin and upcoming guest speaker, talking about business shouldn't be complex. We make it complex, isn't it? Like that's a fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think too often, and Gus, we were talking about this offline, and here's my very simple view of business. And this is what I was taught, and I've taken it to this day, and that is there's really only 3 business models. And I think this is the real criticality of where people go wrong. And if you look across the world, after what I'm about to say, you can easily fit them into one of these 3 boxes, right? And these models are really important for a whole range of different reasons. But product leadership is the first one, or one of them. Operational excellence is another one. And customer excellence or customer intimacy is the third one. And I think more often than not, the businesses that thrive, right? And we can talk about whoever we want here, be it Apple, be it Google, they have placed themselves in one of those 3 business models, right? Now, that doesn't mean the other 2 aren't important. I'm not saying customer intimacy isn't important as an example, but by choosing one, your focus becomes really clear to begin with. You can align how you recruit and what the type of person you want. If I'm running a product leadership model, I'm going to recruit very differently. I'm looking for entrepreneurial. I'm looking for risk takers. I'm looking for a very different subset of passion and competency capability. If I'm in operational excellence, I'm looking for a very different person. So, this clarity of business model really helps us refine how we bring people in, the right people, right? And make sure they're in the right model rather than this cross-contamination where people just, it's not who they are and they get out of place very quickly back to the culture element. And we get this churn if we don't get this right. So my biggest advice for anyone, be it a small business, is to be really clear about what business model you're chasing. The great thing about this, Natalie, Gus, is there's reams of information, right? I mean, just Google any of those 3 and you'll get a whole host of information at your fingertips. And what you'll clearly see is that there are really strong differences between each 3. But then when you start to correlate that to people like Google, FedEx, whoever, you'll find that they typically fit in one of those 3.
When can I ask you a question, Justin? When you look at the value discipline model, which is what you're talking about, operational excellence, customer intimacy, product leadership, back to the core of leadership right now. Say we are going for product leadership, right? And what you said before, doesn't matter which way you go. When you make a decision, you still have the 2 actually part of the business. It's not like you go one and then you're not looking after the customer, or you look after the customer without a product. The underlying leadership, say you very vocal about where you want to take Laminex as a business. You are a very large company. You just won 2021 Australian Financial Review workplace choice, or whatever they call it. So there is an underlying leadership attributes that these people, when you hire a talent as a leader, and even yourself, if you have to pick one, what would be that attribute of the person itself once you pick the right person for the value discipline?
Oh, look, my personal one, and I think this plays out on whether you're in business or whether you're in life, is resilience.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have resilience, be it a kebab shop owner, a noodle shop owner, or someone running a bigger business. It's over, right? Because there's nothing more certain than things are going to go wrong. Things are not going to go your way. I mean, just look at the last 12 months, Gus, Natalie. Yes. I mean, everyone's been thrown on their head, and business in particular have had to, start again. We talk about in our business a game of quarters, right? I mean, throw the 5-year plan out the window. Who knows? I mean, I barely know what's going to go on next week, but what I do know is that if we've got resilience in the business, if we're if we're supporting resilience, if we're recruiting for resilient people, and you can do this, then I'll take them every day of the week, right?
Yeah,
Because what I know is they're gonna hit a brick wall, they're gonna get back up, or they're gonna find another way around it, through it, under it, however they figure it out. So yeah, it's a great question. Resilience all day, every day.
fantastic.
And Justin, how would you actually find someone, like you're interviewing them, how will you actually know that they have this quality? Is there some trick?
No, I don't think there's a trick. I think, you know, for me, when I'm recruiting my team as an example, it's examples they can bring, and everyone's got them, right? I mean, from their childhood, from their, you know, their previous job, their personal experience, you know, asking someone to explain, you know, how they've been resilient, and give a good example. It's just an easy way. Firstly, you unpack, you know, generally who they are. You know, you often get some really deep insights that aren't just going to come up in a normal interview. And it's not to, you know, find out a, you know, a deep personal secret here. It's just, you know, be clear. This is our culture, right? I mean, here's our business model. Here's what we're looking to do. This is our strategy on a page. You know, here's our culture. We like entrepreneur. We like risk taking, whatever it is. But a big part of that risk taking, as an example for us, is you can't just, not everything's going to go your way. So I don't want you to take a risk, get punished or fail and then go, oh, that's it. I mean, I'm never doing that again. You know, so I think it's just pivoting a little bit on your recruitment. I think it's finding, you know, that style of person that can quickly articulate any amount of resilience. Just a good story. You know, let's have a chat about what you learned, what you've taken into your jobs. You know, again, you find that I'd recruit
But isn't
them,
it interesting,
you know,
when we listen to you describe resilience? Me, even the audience, I love this topic about resilience, by the way, and I share with you why. We tend to think about resilience come from Superman. Yet what Justin talk is about resilience. He talk about what do you learn from your mistake? What can we improve about that? That qualities of the expectation of resilience versus the traditional understanding about resilience is key. I don't think you can take your business to win a prestigious award of place to work in manufacturing industries if resilient mean people cannot say I'm not okay. I don't think I never see you like that anyway. Personally, I never see you. I know you more than a decade. So I think the context of resilient have to be understand because this is live broadcast. That what I believe Justin tried to say in here is the ability to still put your best forward the next day, learn from what's not work, reduce the expectation. Imagine this is we talking large company executive saying we are doing it every quarter now because thinking about 5 years could be redundant. And when I relate all that, and Justin will be bored me talking about this because every email, every conversation, I always said, hey, don't forget adversity quotient. A lot of people talk about IQ, which is that's the level of your intelligence. You know, Einstein have the high IQ, and then Daniel Goleman come with emotional intelligence, which is the emotion of the ability to actually carry yourself, connecting with people, empathy. And what Justin talked about is about adversity quotient. And this is, if you haven't read the book, there's a book called Adversity Quotient by Paul Stoltz. It's absolutely what Justin talked about, because you can all aim to go to Everest, but then on the journey, if you don't have the, the adversity intelligence, you fall. So I resonate with that, Justin.
Yeah, and look, well-being is a really hot topic in our business, Gus, and I'm sure in yours. Yeah, and Natalie, I mean, we're just spending a lot of time in this space at the moment. Health and well-being. We've invested, and by the way, I think this is one of the great things of what we've just experienced as a country, as a nation, as as a world. The ability to think about each other a little bit better, right? The ability to think about, you know, the health and well-being of our team and our people, because ultimately I think this does help with resilience as well. But, you know, every business in this country has gone through, you know, a kaleidoscope of choices and changes, and we're still bearing down on that quite heavily. So, you know, I think you've got to make sure that you're looking after your team. You've got to make sure they're supported. They've got tools at their disposal. You know, business, like, you know, as I said, I mean, they go home, but it doesn't mean that you know, their health and well-being is not as critically important when they clock off as it is when they clock on. You know, and we're running a 24/7, you know, manufacturing operation across 6 sites. So, you know, I think that focus, and again, small business, large, you know, think quite clearly about how you're helping your people. Are you okay? Conversations are so important at the moment.
Yeah, you know, when I'm running my noodle shop, if I see people sad, I give them free noodles, right? So they're happy because I cook the best noodles. Anyway, I'm back to you, Nat.
Yeah, look, I'd love to ask, you're both really inspirational leaders, and this question will be for both of you. What do you actually think is the hardest part of being a leader? And I know this would have changed now given the current, you know, circumstances, but
yeah,
it'd be really interesting to know.
I'll let Gus go first.
Okay, I think in my opinion, the word leader, you know, we see it now, you know, we talk about it, I talk about it, but at the same time, the word leader, whether we like it or not, related to a title somehow. Yet I always believe that a leader is not related to a title. You know, it's not, you not become a leader because a certain title. And if you have the title, that's a blessing. And how you remain humble and how you remain strong in your understanding what humility. You know, I learned from my coach Graciela, which is coming to Leader Talk. Graciela will come to Leader Talk in the future podcast. And what she said to me is, and it really resonate to me, and this is the hardest thing to apply, easy to say, is people do not actually look up to Superman. And by the way, the audience here, I'm not suggesting that this is, you should agree or disagree with this statement, but I truly believe on this. But people do follow people that have a crack in the totality, because we can relate. Now, unfortunately, so back to your question, Nat, what is the most difficult part of being a leader is to stay true that you are just a human being. For me, I wake up every day, and for me to be able to say that I am just a human being, that I can go angry as well, I can feel not okay as well, I can cry as well, I can actually do a bad thing. I shouldn't be look perfect on the live stream like this just because I want to look important. And my ability to be just saying it, hey, it's okay. And I sit with Justin, I sit with you, Nat. I mean, you are a business owner with 3 young kids with 10 stuff. Like, I mean, you know, it's okay. That's easy to say, but to be disciplined about it and to be true to it, it's a challenging journey. That's for me. Justin?
Yeah, I'll kind of sum it up, and I think this is the essence of what Gus just said. I think the most difficult part of leadership at the moment is showing vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right. Because at the heart of it, I think people look to their leaders to, okay, you'll know the answer and you'll chat the way. I think those days are gone. I think leaders have to be vulnerable. They have to be strong. Don't get me wrong, but this is you've got to show vulnerability at some point, because who knows? I mean, there was no rule book last year. I mean, we found ourselves, our leadership team, sitting going, what do we do? Like, we've got to try and chart a course through this. No one knew what was around the corner. We had no idea what was in front of us. So we had to be quite open with the business. We're not going to get this right. we don't know all the answers here, right? We are going to make some mistakes, absolutely, no question about it, because we have no idea what's down there. So I think vulnerability for me is probably a leadership quality at the moment that is so critically important, and people want to see it. You know, I mean, I'll give you a great example, and this just does my head in at the moment. And they're hard to understand at best of times, but politicians, I would just, for one person to say, I've got it wrong, right?
Yeah.
I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Right. We've got to do better. We didn't know the answers. I'm sorry. I mean,
yeah.
Because what would that do to people's opinion? That's my personal opinion, right?
Yeah.
I think they would go, that's fine. We don't expect you to be perfect, but don't keep coming up and telling us that you are when we clearly know you're not. All we want is that vulnerability. I mean, so I think it's really, really important at the moment. And that for me is probably, you know, I think going to be important going forward as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And this is kind of going to lead into our next section, but generating ideas in your organization. So how do you actually go about generating ideas?
Gus?
Me, in our organization also focus, you know, on the value discipline around the product leadership companies, where obviously I want to repeat again, because this is, unless we talk about it, this is often, it's not quite common language that we talk about, while customer intimacy is the second one that we focus on. Obviously, generating ideas become part of the important journey for Pierlite. And I will talk about Pierlite, and I will talk about if I'm running a noodle shop. Empowerment, key. Our vision is to empower our people to do their best. And empowerment only can happen if we allow the people to share their ideas, good or bad. Now, the problem with many organizations, mind you, I might sound like I've been running 200 companies. I'm not, right? But I read enough books to understand what's going on. Is the topic so simple? We want to generate ideas. We want to empower the people. The executions is the key. At Pierlite, we thrive around that. Now, if I'm a noodle shop, what do I do? Well, if I'm a noodle shop, currently I have 2 people. Generating ideas start with asking them a question. Hey, we have 5 different noodles. You come from Argentina, while my shop is a Japanese noodle shop. How do I tap into Argentinians so we can sell more noodles? And the answer might don't fit to what I want to do. The answer might be, well, if you want to do that, you need to put more chili. So in my organization right now, by asking a lot of questions and by listening to what the people on the ground, and I always believe the people on the ground know more. I always said in my business, hey, be careful. Good on paper, bad in reality, because we do not actually accept the answer of the people on the ground. That's what we're doing. And Justin, what about you?
Fantastic. Yeah, so I mean, our business model is product leadership, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. You know, R&D, innovation are at the core of our business, fundamentally at the core. So the way I think we tend to think about it at Laminex is we want people to be really curious and have a strong sense of curiosity.
That's fantastic.
And that's about their customers as it is about anything else. And I think there are 2 parts to this equation for me. I think there are the problems. So we call it insight-led innovation, right? And so we want our people to have deep insights, be very curious, unpack, challenge, be skeptical, go in and really unpack what that customer pain points are. I think that's one element, right? And there are companies around the world that do that particularly well, right? They understand their customers, their pain points, and they deliver product innovation, be it product innovation or service innovation, kind of irrelevant. And then I think there's the others, and this is where you really see, right? the big companies who truly make money, be it in tech, be it in food, be it wherever, they figure out what their customers don't yet know, right? They figure out a problem that they don't understand just yet, and then they bring a product and service to the table, right? I mean, who knew we needed an iPhone?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was happy with Nokia or their little whatever they're carrying around. I mean, who knew we needed a computer in a phone? No one, right?
Who knew we will do a meeting with Zoom?
Well,
Microsoft.
Right.
Exactly. Who knew we could jump into a car and not pay anyone but go from point A to point B, and no cash changes hand. So that wasn't something that the industry per se was wanting. That was what they thought the consumer needed. And if you look at them, they're the companies that are truly grow at exponential rates. They're extremely profitable because they've had this deep curiosity and insight about what is going to happen, right? And therein lies risk, right? For all the ones I've just mentioned, there'll be 100 that didn't cut it, right, and that are on the scrap heap somewhere. But that's ultimately, how we think about innovation. And Gus is right. I mean, we really try and empower our people. We've got teams running all over the business. I'll be honest, right? I mean, I walk into a room sometime and listen to the president, and I have no idea, right? Because there's so many things going on with so many project teams, and that's the way it should be. Yeah. We shouldn't have this containment as a leader. You want it to be quite fluid, because ultimately, who's going to be faster to react? Is it the person on the front line, the salesperson or the chef or whoever, or is it going to be the CEO, CFO? I'd argue it's the person actually talking to the customer, right? So why would I delay that pain any longer than I need to by saying, let's make sure it goes through all the process, it comes to me and I'll sign and then it'll come back to you. By that stage, game over.
You know what's funny,
that's
Justin?
particularly important in product leadership.
Sorry, Justin. Sorry, I cut you off. But you know what's important about what you said about the most important person, and I will move to innovation after this. I can't remember which books, but I certainly read this. They said many companies relate business with sports. That's a lot of companies, right? So let's just think about a soccer team, right? If we compare a soccer team, the best soccer team in the world versus the best, versus a company, and what Justin said before, where the people that is important in an organization is not by title, but by who hold the ball. Now, if you look at the soccer team, the most important is not the coach when the game is on. It's actually the people that actually running with the ball. And there is a lot of organization, small, big, medium, extra big, where they start losing and they start forgetting that, like what Justin said, I come to a room. That's what you said, Justin. You come to a meeting room. You have no idea because that room is actually holding the ball. And how organization, how a noodle shop like me empower the counter person that's selling the noodle to the customer, and the noodle come back and said, I don't like the chili. The chili tastes weird. And I just said, what are you talking about? This chili come from Japan? Like, I mean,
I'll give you a great example, one that just popped into my mind, and because I think you guys have a really strong focus on that small to medium business owner. And this happened. I was on a trip to the US actually, and we were going around a brand new community, and part of that community was the local corner store, right? And he was trying to compete with the big grocery, big boxes up the road in town. And so here's something that I thought, and I'd never forget this in terms of innovation, was he asked everyone that was coming in each day to bring your receipts in from where you shopped, right? And by doing that, his insights were, I now know what they need. I know what they're shopping for up the road, and I'm going to use that as a stocking point for my corner store. I mean, what an amazing concept, right? And I thought, geez, I mean, how many small businesses would take that approach? And he was a small business. This was like your local corner store, but he wanted to make sure that his customers didn't go somewhere else. So show me what you're shopping for. I'll make sure it's here at the right. But I guess that it's where you want it, when you want it. So there's just a great example of innovation.
Yeah, fantastic.
That didn't cost any money. It was just simply, show me your receipts, and I thought it was awesome.
And it's a great one.
Sorry, Nat, you first.
I was just going to say, innovation sounds scary, but when you look at that example, it sounds scary and expensive. But looking at that example, you've got something that didn't cost much and something so simple that you don't usually think of.
And I think this is the key that I want to bring to the world, that we want to bring to the world. We Justin now is a speaker number 3, right? They're running a mega business. And the topic, when I put the topic, I put innovation, culture, talent. Oh my God, it sounds expensive. It's just expensive. Innovation relate to millions of dollars. Because if you don't spend millions of dollars, you don't actually innovate. But Justin just give us an example. Innovation, just like what Mark Burgess, by the way, to all of you, Mark Burgess, Justin Burgess, maybe related in a tree somewhere. A lot of people ask me.
Somewhere.
But
no.
But you know what? Maybe there is innovation is about mindset.
I'll give you another one, because and this is specifically related, a game on the same trip, by the way. This was small hardware stores trying to compete with Amazon. Right. And how do we compete? Right. So this is often the other problem as well, is, oh God, I'm never going to beat them. Right. I mean, they're a billion, however much money they make now. It's game's over. They're going to kill me. Right. They're going to crunch me. These small hardware stores kind of innovated where what they wanted to do, and the aim here was this offline experience in an online world, right? The concept. And so they provided a small discount to a customer that was already in a store. They knew they lived in the area, and they provided a discount to deliver, right? So on your way home, would you mind dropping this off to, John Smith's house? And we'll give you a $5, $10, credit on either on this purchase or the next. There's another one, right? Costs no money. It's about community. These customers were more than happy to do it. They wanted to protect the local store. So no problems at all. I'll drop it. And so that was their way of competing with Amazon, right? Who had massive boxes, big trucks and all the rest of it. And they internalized it and found a way. There's always a way.
And I think that's the key. The key is, if we, sorry, not you, because I'm on the other side with the audience. If we want to stay relevant, we need to innovate. If we want to innovate, do not wait until we find a reason not to innovate. Because listening to what you say, Justin, innovate could mean as simple as understanding your competitor through the customer lens as a grocery store. Or innovation could mean trying to find how you rebrand your business through a free social media. There's a lot of free social media. Innovation could means about thinking, where you're thinking about from your employees, your consumer, or whoever around you. And that's what I really think, that this is such a great message from you, Justin, where you representing a large business, you bring the topic to such a relevant thinking, where Natalie now, you running a good business, a very specific business in name elite words and innovation. We don't need to wait until there is an automatic printing or automatic something. Innovation could be as simple as understanding how you can rebrand, how you can bring your
Well,
brands.
Gus, it's as simple as what you and Natalie are doing now, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you've
Yes.
got a passion for small business. You've got a passion for small business owners, and so this is your innovation. I mean, it's as much about
Yeah.
this concept as it is about anything else. So I think, you know, for those small businesses, don't be challenged by the concept of innovation. It is simple as and being curious, being skeptical. You know, go and get insights. Go and think about those things. Go. You know, use the concept of the receipt. Right? Where are your receipts? Figuratively, right? I mean, how do I think about that concept in my business, and you know, where are those insights that I'm missing? Where are those things that I'm not unpacking? I mean, I think you saw it really quickly in, say, the food and beverage space during lockdown, right?
Yes.
Well, they're not coming to us. We're going to have to go to them. And that wasn't, you know, a lot of those things weren't fully cooked meals. It was, here are all the ingredients because we've got them all. We're going to show you. We're going to have a Zoom call. We're going to teach you how to, you know, cook some really great a la carte meals at home. I know you do this anyway, Gus, but for the rest of us, you know, normal people. So there's innovation all around us. It's big, it's large, it's small, and it's applicable to everyone. It's more the philosophical view, right? I mean, have a philosophical view of this, and think about it in these terms. And I mean this quite literally. If you don't innovate, you are going to die.
Yeah.
Right.
And am I accurate, Justin, to say this? To be able to innovate in our thinking, ability to think with innovation in mind, then we need to be brave to accept diversity, whether it's a diversity in ideas, diversity in opinion, diversity on people, because the world moving so quick. The noodle shop that I know right now, in the past, you know, I born from, you know, I'm sure no one thinking I'm from Italy. I'm born from Asia, where noodles is literally just a noodle. Now you go to Melbourne, like Melbourne, there is 100 type of how to cook noodles. And I still surprised there's one that is actually sell more than the other noodle shop. How basic is cooking noodle, and mind blowing.
Yeah, I think, and there's heaps of books on this, but again, my simple insight into this is you've almost got to have a passion to kill your business, right? It's almost like you've got to figure out a way, because if you're not doing it, someone else is probably doing it for you, right? So, and that's competition. So if you're the best noodle shop in town, there's got to be someone around the corner thinking, how do I knock Gus off, right? So it's your job to do that. It's your job to think about how you kill the business model that you've got right now, and innovate and iterate and move on, so that you're constantly...
That's very strong, isn't it? Can you repeat again? This is very important for all of us, because you're using a very enigmatic language here that I really love. Can you repeat again? So for all of us,
so
to have
for
a
me,
to kill our business to grow, that's fantastic.
You've got to kill your business, because the art of competition is someone's looking to do that for you. So, and the best way to defend against that competition is continually to evolve, because what's the competition got to do? I've got to evolve too. I'm not chasing that anymore. I'm chasing another thing. I'm chasing another thing. And the great companies in the world do this so well, right? It's almost like a product's been launched and the next product is to replace it. Just think of phones, right?
Yes.
I mean, iPhone, whatever it is now, 12 comes out. What's coming next? 13. I'm going to kill that one. Right?
Yeah.
Why am I? It's going to be better. It's going to have a better camera.
Yes.
It's going to have better functionality. And so automatically I've launched it, and now I'm trying to get rid of it. And so what's the competition forced to do? Oh God, let's not focus on the 12. We got to think about the 13, and that hasn't even come yet. So I think these are the concepts that, I think any business really needs to harness. But if you're not thinking about your impending business, coming up, someone coming up, well, then someone else is.
Yeah, I have a questions also. When we talk about that kind, I pulling it back to the way you run your business, the way you make your team curious. That's the culture within Laminex that you grow. You are a product leadership. You want to innovate. There's a lot of highly driven people that will, the eyes, instead of looking like this, they will be looking like this. Right? Now, that relate to talent and retention, right? Because fortunately or unfortunately, the specific type of people that is very, very curious is also curious for a lot of things, not only what they do. How do you manage talent in the retention point of view, or what framework, what message you can give to us when you have that kind of people?
You brought it up before. My concept that I'm talking about with my team at the moment is how do you move from player to coach?
Yeah.
Right. And therein lies the great opportunity is, as a coach, it's the team on the field that you're concentrating on, not the leadership that's sitting around the table, right? So that's how we focus. So we've built and invested in systems and platforms, if you like, that not only encourage that, absolutely support it. So our business, and for those of you that, again, probably in the medium to kind of large, but even a medium-sized business, we invested in a concept called integrated business planning, IBP. It's a company called Oliver White. They literally wrote the book on sales and operational planning. I'm giving you a bit of a plug here. And we've brought that into our business. So what that does is it supports teams. And ultimately what happens is all those decisions, both daily, weekly cadences, up to a monthly cadence, are already done by the time it hits our senior leadership team, where we're being informed or we are being asked to make a critical decision. But the decision process has already been done. They've provided options and we've got to make a decision, right? So we've implemented, and it's been a game changer. So, it's those teams that are literally running the business day to day, and making critical decisions. So they don't have to pivot. They don't have to come to me. They don't have to come to anyone, but it's their decision to be made. It's a freedom within the framework. So they've been given a strong framework of how to accomplish that. But that was one way we took that into our business. Are you
saying, just to get a clarity on this, are you saying the minute you transform your business to make people making decision quickly, whether it's through system or whether empowerment, that's one way of retain good people, even the curious type of people that you bring?
What's basic human nature? I mean, you want to see progress, right? You, in whatever form, it's simple, and it can be as simple as you want to make it. But and that's what the players want to do. They want to win, and they want to see progress, and they want to see momentum. And so, absolutely, you've got to find a way to support and encourage and reward that as well, because but again, you've got to relinquish. You've got to have, this is a strong trust element here as well, right? And you're not always going to get this right. I mean, but for most leaders, and the really good ones, I think they've got a great element of trust. They recruit well, right? They hold accountability, right? The old adage is they're very quick to get the wrong people off the bus and the right people back on. Absolutely critical. And do not waste time on that space either. If they're wrong and you've given the opportunity, you've got to move quickly for the benefit of the entire team, right? Because it's a weak link that you can ill afford. So, there are some philosophical opinions here that, I think are really relevant in a business that needs to move and wants and has the bulk of its team wanting to move quickly. But yeah, you gotta whack the trust card on the table.
It is I never run a small business, but I empathize with their challenges, because if I'm a noodle shop and my staff is actually the cousin of my best friend or something like that, and to do a quick changes, like there's a lot of personal connection, yet what you're saying is absolutely, I agree, where unfortunately or fortunately the world moving so fast, to stay relevant, the well-being of the organization, doesn't matter what the size, and the performance of the organization have to be looked at first before the individuals, because the one individuals could actually drag down the whole lot. Doesn't matter what's the size.
And then that's the same as a soccer team, or it's a combination of players on the ground that are clear as to what they've got to do, where they've got to stand. I mean, you can't have everyone on the wing, right? Otherwise they're going to run through the middle. So I don't think business is any different. I go back to the business model again, Gus. Get that right, and you'll recruit the right people, because there are people that, and it's not necessarily they're the wrong person, they're just the wrong person for that model, right? They may be very strong in customer intimacy models, as an example.
Yes.
They may be very strong in operational excellence, right? Because they love process. They love, they love the process of operational excellence, right? Like a FedEx.
Yeah.
Right? They're not about customer intimacy, right? As you might think, they're about getting the box from here to here in the shortest and most economical time frame. So they have processes, and obviously for the right reasons. You've got to go through, steps 1 through 4.
Correct.
Whereas, product leadership, that discipline and that capability is not as important, right? Because we want fluidness. Sometimes we've got to go 1 to 4 and then back to 2 through 2. So hence why I'm just saying, find the right business model that's right for you. And then everything else can run off it. Your structures, your product leadership is about trying to get rid of bureaucracy. It's trying to make layers flat so that decisions are quick. It's about innovation, risk taking. Now, these are not what you want in FedEx's world. Right? I don't want people playing around with the system, because I know the system gets that box to there. If I got people in the middle going, I'm going to innovate and I'm going to, no, you're not going to work here. So I think it's as much for you, the business owner, as it is for who you're bringing into your business, right?
Yes. Because
then it becomes a lot easier. I'm not saying it solves all your problems. I mean, you're going to get it wrong, but it's so much easier to kind of think about who and where you're coming from. You can then kind of aggregate to certain industries that are the same, and that pool of talent is going to be right for you. But you can eliminate other industries. It can really change your focus on who you're bringing into the team.
Yeah.
Can I just ask on that, Justin? This is all super interesting. So just coming from the perspective of small business, sometimes time is a big thing, and you're barely, you're working long hours. The last thing you have time for is to think about innovation. So what advice would you have for a small business that says, I don't have time, I'm just going to keep going with what I'm doing? How can they actually bring innovation?
I'd prioritize it, because I go back. If you're in business to set a future and to provide future for other people, then it's incumbent on you to think, because if it's there's almost likely there's someone else thinking about it more than you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd prioritize it. I'd make it a part of everyday conversation. And again, Nat, I think that's the curiosity that I'm talking about. what's around the corner, what do we think's around the corner, look globally, look locally, be inquisitive, be really curious. And I think it's just those elements, and every new thing you unpack will be a new learning, innovation. You guys are doing this as we speak, right? I mean, it's podcasts. It's from your first to your third, to your 13th are going to look and feel very different because you're learning, you're curious, you're getting feedback, you're iterating, you're making it better. That's innovation. I mean, it's
and I think that's the key, right? Because like what Natalie said, the word is scary. All the world in the business world is scary, but in my personal opinion, we just don't want to say it in the tone down, like Justin mentioned it. Innovation is not $20 million in the factory burning something. That's the process of after the innovation thinking, but it's more about the thinking. So if I summarize this as we are passing the 1 hour, if you don't mind, Nat, around this, what Justin, first, I just want to say thank you because your passion, especially around the value discipline, where a business looking at it from three points, whether it's a customer intimacy, operational excellence, or product leadership. Every business actually got it all. That's what you say.
Absolutely.
Pick one that you want to do really, really well. And in the case of Justin, he's a passionate product leadership model, organization, where what we talk about in the last 1 hour is more about how do you translate product leadership culture to the talent, to the innovation thinking, to how you empower each other, to making sure that you don't actually say that you want to be product leadership model, but then you put every process where everyone just can actually come up with ideas. And then Justin closing it by saying to all of us, including me, one of the noodle shop owner in Melbourne, that please remember that while innovation sounds expensive, innovation start with your curiosity, start with your ability to ask and be open to ideas. And we are very thankful, Justin, you support this leader talk. Like you remember I called you and said, look, Justin, I need you to be here because no one want to come into this. And today we are fully booked until end of November. I mean,
that's awesome.
Thank you to everyone. Like I got people that actually putting themselves with risk, like yourself here. Like less than 8 weeks ago, we have no idea. And coming back to what you said, yes, we improvise, we try to make it better, we talk, and come back to you, Nat, because it's real for you, mom with 3 kids, staff. You need to run the business. And I don't know whether saying this is actually will be bad or not, but but I want to say that it become a choice too. In the absence of curiosity, in the absence of innovation, and even bring it back to what Mark Burgess said, in the absence of you thinking global, and then bring it back to Leader Talk 1, where Daniel Wood said, in the absence of sacrifice, and he said clearly on Leader Talk 1, everyone talk about success, only few want to pay the price.
Mm-hmm.
We will lose. So that's the price we pay. And Justin, thank you so much for just saying it as is. Thank you so much to say, to explain it in the way that we can understand. Natalie and I very appreciative of this.
Yeah, thank you.
And we wish you well with your journey. You run a sizable company. Everywhere we go, we see your brand, and so that's fantastic.
That's
and
good.
To the team at Laminex, and few of you, they are my ex-colleagues, my friend as well. Well done in bringing the business to win a prestigious recognition as one of the best place to work. So, Justin,
congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much today.
Thanks,
Thank
Gus.
you.
Thanks, Natalie. Been awesome.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you, Justin. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. For more information on Leader Talk and for some great resources to help your business grow, check out brainiact.com.au. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.